To begin, our two lovers, Shiva and Sati, spent all of their time together. And I'm sure you know what it's like. When you first get together, you can't bear to spend a single moment apart. Oh, it's just so good to be together every single moment. And everything they say is so deep and meaningful, and every joke they crack is just the funniest thing that you've ever heard. And when they don't say anything at all, oh, they're so mysterious. But, well, things change, don't they, as time goes on. And Shiva, well, he was drawn away to meditate on the other mountain tops, and it was then that Sati found herself all alone, and she was homesick. She missed her sisters and their chatter, and she missed her mother and their hugs. She even missed her father a little bit. And so when Shiva came back that evening, she said, "My love, let's go back. Let's go back and see them. Father will have forgotten all of that nonsense now. All will be forgiven, I'm sure." But Shiva, he knew better. "My love, if you must go, then you must go alone. I'll be here, waiting for you." And so the next morning, Sati set off, down the mountainside, through the forest, over the river, over the meadows and over the fields she went. And when she came back home, the sun was just beginning to rise, and the family must have finished their morning puja, because there, on the courtyard ground, there was the head of a sacrificed goat, surrounded by flowers and incense. She pushed open the doors and she stepped inside, and there, sitting on his throne, her father, and her mother beside him, and her sisters. And she said, "I'm back. I missed you all." And he said, "How dare you return? You are no longer welcome here. I thought I made that perfectly clear. Father, please, surely all of that can be forgotten now. You have brought shame and dishonour on this family. Do you know what the neighbours are saying? They say that you deal in death now just like him, that you dance on graves, that you feast on the flesh of the dead. Father, I can assure you none of that is true. You married him, the god of destruction. He spreads his misery and suffering and death everywhere he goes." "No, Father, do you not see? He's the god of destruction, yes, but he's also the god of creation. From destruction comes creation, from death comes life." "You lie, daughter. Death is death and nothing more." No, it's not true. From death comes life. I will prove to you that what I say, that what he says is true. I will prove it to you. I will prove it to you now. Guards, bring me firewood." And the guards did. The firewood was brought into the hall and placed in front of Sati. And Sati lit the wood, and it began to hiss and crackle, and the sparks jumped and the flames leapt up. "I will prove to you that from death comes life, from destruction comes creation. I will be reborn, and this time to a father I can love and respect." And Sati stepped into the fire. The guards were ordered to hold back her sisters and her mother, screaming and weeping. And the flames leapt up around her. The flames caught her sari, licked her blistering skin, ran their fingers through her hair. Murali Manoa Shiva Kaneya Jumanai Radakati Radaki. Murali Manoa Shiva Kaneya Jumanai Radakati Radaki. Murali Manoa Shiva Kaneya Jumanai Radakati Radaki. Shiva, 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 Shiva. High up on the mountain top, Shiva smelt burning. In a flash, he was back at the palace, bursting into the smoke-filled hall. There was Sati's mother and sisters, huddled around the burning embers of a fire, and he pushed them aside and saw there the charred, blackened body of his love, his life, his heart's desire, gone. And sitting there, stony-faced on his throne, Sati's father. Shiva took his discus, and it sliced through the air, cut through Sati's father's neck, through sinew, through bone, through flesh, and their head landed with a thud on the ground. Sati's mother grabbed Shiva and said, "Please, please let him live. He's all we have. Without him, we lose everything. Our home, our livelihoods, everything. Please." Shiva looked down into the pleading eyes of the woman who had brought his love into the world, and compassion stirred, but only a little compassion. Shiva took the head of the sacrificed goat from the courtyard and placed it onto the neck of Sati's father. And sure enough, ears twitched, glassy eyes blinked, and horns gleamed. Well, from that day on, Sati's father, humbled and humiliated with the head of a goat, worshipped at the Shiva temple morning, noon, and night. And as for Shiva, he lifted the body of his love up onto his back and carried her home. Over the fields, the crops bowed their heads. Over the meadows, the flowers bowed their heads. Over the rivers, the waters fell lifeless. Through the forests, the birds fell silent. High up on a cloud, Vishnu, the blue-skinned protector, was watching his brother spread destruction, death, and suffering with every step he took. Something must be done. And so Vishnu loosed an arrow. And this arrow cut a chunk of Sati's charred flesh from her body and pinned it to the earth. And where it landed, flowers began to grow. Another arrow, another chunk of flesh, and this time the crops grew back. Another arrow, and another, and he did not stop until the rivers were full of fish once again, and the birds in the forest sang. By the time Shiva had reached the top of the mountain, there was nothing left of Sati's body. Gone. All gone. All he had left of his love now was his memory of her. And so he sat and gazed out into the distance and focused on her. Nothing but her. His memory of his love, his life, his heart's desire. And as he sat there, he grew as cold as ice, as still as stone. And when the clouds gathered above him, the rain fell and turned to snow. A thick blanket of snow around him. And from that day to this, the tallest mountains of the world are still capped with the harsh, cold whiteness of grief. And of course, our story does not end there either. There'll be one more episode of this Indian epic tomorrow, so I hope to see you then.